A woman in Ohio checked off her 300th task of the week. It was 2:14 in the morning. She wasn't behind on a deadline. She wasn't even paid by the task. She just couldn't stop clicking the checkbox. On her screen, a small flame icon glowed next to a number, streak 91 days. She hadn't missed a single day in over 3 months. She told her therapist she felt like she was winning something. She couldn't say what. The tool she used wasn't built by a productivity expert. It was built by a small design team in Silicon Valley, and they borrowed their playbook almost line for line from slot machines. The research behind that playbook didn't come from a software engineer. It came from a lab at Stanford, a lab that studied one question only. How do you get a human being to repeat a behavior without them noticing they've been trained? The man who ran that lab was named B.J. Fogg. By the mid-2000s, half of Silicon Valley had sat in his classroom. His students went on to design the apps on your home screen. For most of human history, work had an edge to it. The field was harvested, or it wasn't. The shop closed its doors at 6. The blacksmith finished the horseshoe and went home. There was a moment where the task ended, and your brain finally got to rest, because there was nothing left in front of you demanding attention. Now open your task manager. There is no edge anymore. Behind every completed card, 3 more quietly appear. Behind every cleared inbox, 5 new messages land before you close the tab. The list was never designed to end. It was designed to refill. When you check off a task, your brain releases a small hit of dopamine, not for finishing the work, for the act of checking the box itself. Apps learn this, and they stopped designing around the outcome. They started designing around the checkbox, a red badge on an icon, a progress bar sitting at 70%, a streak counter ticking upward day after day. None of it makes you better at your job. All of it makes you open the app again. You start chasing the check mark instead of the result. Somewhere along the way, something shifted. I finished something today, quietly turned into, I didn't break the streak today. And your brain started treating those as the same feeling, even though they are not the same thing at all. But that was only the surface. Streaks and progress bars are the entry-level version. The deeper layer is the leaderboard. Your name ranked against your coworkers, updated in real time. Some companies call this friendly competition. Behavioral researchers call it something else. Social pressure, engineered to extract more effort than a salary alone can buy. Once your name has a number next to your coworker's number, stopping doesn't feel like resting anymore. It feels like losing in public. But the worst layer wasn't built for office workers at all. It was built for people who don't even have a manager watching them. In 2017, a New York Times investigation looked into a major ride-hailing company. It found the company had spent years studying video game psychology to influence its own drivers, using messages, visual cues, and reward mechanics to keep them behind the wheel longer than they intended, often past the point where the pay still justified the hours. Drivers weren't clocking in for a shift. They were being nudged session after session, the same way a game nudges a player toward just one more level. The company never called it manipulation. Some of the internal language was closer to a mobile game studio than a transportation company. And it isn't only gig workers. In 2020, a major software company quietly launched something called a productivity score. It gave every employee a number out of 800 based on emails sent, meetings attended, and chat messages posted. Managers could see the score by team and, in some views, by individual name. Privacy researchers called it what it actually was: workplace surveillance wrapped in a game-like scoreboard. The backlash was loud enough that the company renamed the feature within weeks. The scoreboard didn't disappear. It just changed its name. None of this mechanic was invented for the workplace. Experience points, levels, and badges were first designed in the 1970s for text-based multiplayer games built by hobbyist programmers. The goal back then was simple: make players want to log back in tomorrow. Decades later, enterprise software borrowed the exact same system. Sales teams got leaderboards, learning platforms got badges, language apps got streaks with a cartoon mascot guilt-tripping you by text message. The mechanic didn't change at all. Only the target did, from a teenager playing for fun to an adult working for a paycheck. None of this is hidden exactly. It's published in patents, design case studies, conference talks.
With titles like engagement loops and retention mechanics, the vocabulary was borrowed wholesale from the casino industry and the mobile gaming industry, then rebranded for the workplace as motivation and gamified productivity. The people who build these systems aren't villains twirling a mustache. Many of them genuinely believe checklists and streaks help people, but the systems they build are graded, funded, and promoted on one number: how long you stay engaged, not how well you rest, not how sustainable your pace is. Engagement, just engagement. Picture a conference room in a software company. Blinds half closed, afternoon light cutting across a long table. A whiteboard covered in one word repeated in different colors. Retention, a designer pitches a new feature, a streak that resets to 0 if you miss a single day, no grace period. Someone in the room raises a concern. Won't that punish people for taking a sick day? The answer, according to notes later described by former employees at similar companies, was blunt. Punishing the miss is exactly what makes people afraid to miss it. The feature shipped 3 months later. You were never falling behind on your own. You were playing a game that was quietly designed for one purpose: to make behind feel like a personal failure instead of what it actually is. A number invented by someone else in a meeting you were never in to keep you at the table a little longer than you needed to be. The checklist isn't proof that you're disciplined or undisciplined. It's proof that somebody somewhere figured out exactly which color the check mark needed to be.